Welcome back, y'all, to the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series. We're here for America edition at WCS Challenger. I'm Nathanius, joined by Kevin Rotterdam, and I'm excited to get ourselves into Group D for Dank, because that's how the memes are going to be for this first match, I'm feeling.
Yeah, I'm not joining you in that accent. I'd love to try, but I need a couple cheeky ones before I go there and embarrass myself like that. Let's see what America has in store for us today. You know, we often meme that in Europe we see the high-level quality StarCraft, and then NA, then the memes come out. But to be totally fair, I think today was not the highest level of play I've ever seen out of a European Challenger Day, right? Like, we obviously,
it was messy, yeah.
Yeah, we had some players look good, don't get me wrong, but a couple of pretty unexcusable mistakes as well, I think, and just kind of funny scenarios. So let's see if NA can top a meme day of Europe StarCraft. I think they can. I've got some confidence here, but yeah, let's see.
I think we're going to go through the information for you guys again. Of course, this is Challenger. We are in the round of 16 at the moment. We did have 16 players qualified, playing 4 groups of 4. The top 2 of every group make it out to a playoff bracket. That playoff bracket for America will be taking place 1 week from today. That is next Sunday. The Europe bracket will be next Saturday. So that, of course, is all that is on the line. We've got money and WCS points to play for. $1,600 for first place and 200 WCS points. Very big, very important. The closer we get to the end of the year, the more the players realize, oh my God, I'm not going to qualify because of this 60 points I missed out by not making it to the top 4. For example, from that bottom 16. So there is a lot going on. And like I said, the rest of our shows are just going to be next Saturday and Sunday. And we'll be wrapping up Challenger, getting into WCS Summer, and all of that good stuff. Because we know that you like watching people play video games for money, because it's awesome. And it's fun. And you can learn. You can learn a lot. Sometimes people would say from WCS America not learn as much, but you can still have some fun.
There's always a couple good builds out there. There's always a hidden gem. in between the 7 or 8 meme games, there's always a gem out there. Our very first match of the day is going to be an all-Canadian affair here between Semper and Scarlett. So that should be a lot of fun. Now, yesterday we talked a little bit about potential mismatches. I love Semper, and I think he's one of the greatest kids in the NA scene, but he's been very busy. Ravi went over it as well. I think he recently passed the bar exam, the way they call it, so he's going to be a lawyer. But he's going up against Scarlett, who is obviously incredibly good in StarCraft. And didn't Scarlett just play in the final of a tournament this morning or something?
Yeah, I think I woke up. She was playing versus Innovation in something.
Yep, in the Chinese tournament.
Yeah. So I was just asking her. I just pinged her. I'm like, just double checking where you are, because she's got she likes to play in the clan with the ping mentioned. Of course, second matchup will be Puck versus Future. Should be a good series. Very interested to see what kind of shape Puck is in, as he's one of the more volatile players. Yeah. So Scarlett saying she played GPC earlier today. She is in China, so playing here from China. Something to take into consideration, right? That the ping is a huge factor, especially, between the distance and, of course, the internet situation over there. It may be a little bit more difficult for her to micro some of her units, but she's been competing in WCS for such a long time. It hasn't stopped her so far. I
think the longer the game goes, the less of an impact this will have on Scarlett, because that's obviously where her macro and her micro will shine. And the decision-making is obviously very good by her, but if you get 3 racks, it could actually be a little bit harder to suddenly micro those units properly, because there's nothing more annoying than like reacting against early harass with your workers, or even like a mass Reaper build or something along those lines. So things could get a little bit frustrating here for Scarlett, but she is still the overwhelming favorite in this best of 3 against Semper, simply for the fact that Scarlett has played way more StarCraft lately than Semper has.
A storied legend of the World Championship Series, and a player that we all know and love. With that being said, welcome to Acropolis. In the northwest position, spawning as the blue Zerg player, we have Scarlett. The red Zerg player. The graphic threw me for a loop.
Well, that graphic threw me for a loop as well.
Scarlett was playing Terran, I'd be very surprised.
In the right bottom side, looking at the main base of the Canadian Terran player, it is Semper. Yeah, all sorts of things are going wrong right now on the scoreboard. But we'll figure it out, guys. We'll get the hang of it, swap the players, and everything is going to be okay. What are you expecting, Nate? I actually casted a couple of the games of Semper in the open bracket qualifier. He had a very funny series against my boy Ariam, you know, one of the old school legends of the NA scene. And obviously, like, Semper still knows how to play StarCraft. He's still a very good StarCraft player. But I could absolutely see that it's not the same Semper that once upon a time traveled to Paris to beat Zest on the LAN, you know, in Nations War. He's not there.
He's not the holographic first edition Charizard Semper that he used to be. Not right now.
No, he's more like a Bulbasaur at the moment.
He's cute, but not the most powerful.
Okay.
So we'll see. We'll see if we can get a solar beam or something maybe for this match. If he can evolve his way through this TvZ. We had some pretty good TvZ in WCS. I think yesterday we had some really fun games in the Europe games. Terran versus Zerg, I think, is just in a great place right now. There's so many different options for Terran to open up with. Zerg, of course, has some really strong late game options, but we're seeing some more variety. We had Vindicta bust out the mass battle cruisers, and I love seeing that. I love seeing players have, you know, choices to make where the opponent isn't always 100% sure what they're doing. Because to me, that's what brings a lot of the life to StarCraft, is making choices, being able to kind of feel your way around problems and having multiple solutions, which keeps everybody on their toes. And as a commentator, well, I enjoy not knowing what's going to happen.
You're spot on. Yesterday, I think, was an awesome day of TvZ, and we had a couple of great TvZs before that already. I think in these 2 weeks, that is truly the one matchup that has shined the most and has created the most epic games, even though we had a couple of long PvZs and stuff as well. Yesterday, it really felt to me like Vindicta's day. It was kind of like his breakthrough party. And it's not just the fact that Vindicta, for the first time in his career, qualified for top 8 of WCS NA Challenger, but the way he did it as well, right? Nothing gimmicky, nothing cheesy. Well, I mean, maybe cheesy in an annoying way, but in very long, drawn-out games, nuke after nuke. I think it was a lot of fun to watch. If you guys didn't see those games yet, make sure to check out, because Vindicta definitely made a good splash, in my opinion.
If he gets a name change, if he uses his warranted, WCS name change, he should just become the Nuke Man, or like Nuke King Prime, because that was... If you guys like seeing nukes in competitive StarCraft games, watch Vindicta's games from yesterday, because they were all insane. And he forced nukes in just about every single map that he played that didn't end before the 14-minute mark.
Or we should just call him the Nuclear Terran from now on.
Oh yeah, the Nuclear Terran. I like that. Much better idea than mine, Kev. That one does not require him to change his name. So we have some Zerglings coming out. 2 Hellions and a Reaper looking for some cheeky drone kills. And I feel like
that's actually good damage here by Semper.
If you're Semper, you're trying to keep that in mind as well. The location, right? That Scarlett's playing from China. You know the ping isn't going to be that easy. It's going to be probably, what, a 300 millisecond delay?
From China, it's really
trying to pull drones. So at that point, you've got a large window to get that Hellion attack off before the drones are able to position somewhere that they want to be. Because of this, we do see Scarlett do a lot of aggressive builds in WCS.
And that makes a lot of sense to me. You know, I was just thinking, you know, in the very early days, Beastie had a game once upon a time where, you know, Goody used to be known for his nuclear missiles. And then at one point, Beastie had to play against Goody, I think in an IEM in Cologne or something. And he's like, okay, you want to turtle and drop nukes? I'll do the same thing. And like, Beastie just nuked the hell out of Goody for like 25 minutes straight. It was really cool TVT. And from that point on, we called him the Radioactive Terran, which I thought was a pretty cool name. But yeah, eventually, I mean, now he's kind of betraying us, playing Protoss and everything. So.
Well, Beastie's he's working on his... He's big on his brand these days. Nowadays, that game would be titled Nukes in 25-minute game? And that would be it. And you'd have to click to see the rest, Kevin.
Armory is on the way for our boy Semper. Like, well, it was a bit reckless, perhaps a bit crazy with those first 2 Hellions and the Reaper, but it really wasn't bad. A little bit of lost mining time, got 4 drones, and obviously there are more Hellions on the way as well. So Semper so far actually positioning himself pretty decently. Obviously Scarlett being Scarlett, we know that her worker production will always be on point and her macro is going to be on point. She's one of the top favorites for Challenger, even if she's playing these games from China. I mean, you just nobody wants to play Scarlett, I think. No, Scarlett, of course, one of the most storied players in StarCraft 2 history.
That's a really good split, by the way, on the Hellbats.
Yeah, great split by the Hellbats. The Banshee, of course, being invisible over the top, able to get a lot of hits on to these Queens, really getting through the energy that they would be using for Transfuse, but the Banshee does get picked off. The Hellbats are going to be cleaned up without too much damage being done. I think that Viking's going to die. Ooh, not even able to kill that Overlord.
Actually, amazing defense with Scarlett. I really thought that she was going to be in a little bit more trouble because Semper's control there was good, was really on point. And I'm like, all right, like, are things going to fall now? And in the end, like, yeah, one queen went down, but nothing bad, obviously. Like, Semper was hoping for a lot more there, more queens, or perhaps a few more drone kills. But, you know, both players actually seem to be pretty on point so far, Nate. And even though we perhaps expected a one-sided match, I think this is shaping up to be at least a pretty decent TvZ.
Yeah, Spire is coming in. We got Magfield Accelerator, Blue Flame, and +1 vehicle weapons to start off. And I do like this a lot because it's going to allow the Hellions with Blue Flame to two-shot the Lings. I think it's an easy trap to fall behind since we see this battle mech so often. That it guarantees the two-shot for the Cyclones with their normal attack and also two-shot for Blue Flame Hellions against Zerglings once they have the Carapace upgrade. So then going into armor afterwards I think is the correct play. So I like everything about what Semper is doing, and he's getting his factory count up very quickly too.
Scarlett is getting both of her upgrades at the same time as well, +1 melee and +1 missile, so she's not having that Carapace life today. It's all about the attack. Spire going down, Roach 1 going down as well. You know, yesterday you mentioned that there was a battle mech game that we watched, and you're like, man, I really love if this Terran player would just get Blue Flame a little bit quicker, right? Well, Semper apparently has been watching that because he's getting it a lot quicker than I think Clem it was yesterday against Lembo.
And it was interesting because I think the whole thing that came up on the other side of that was that it was really fast drilling claws too, which we don't really see a lot of Widow Mines used with this composition. Some players do use Ling Bane to deal with it, and then yeah, Widow Mines with the upgrade are really strong. For obvious reasons, being able to survive after detonating is really nice, and it can help deal with certain air transition plays. But Sasha taking an interesting approach to this. It kind of reminds me a little bit of old school anti-mech, where it's like, I'm going to go mutas, but I'm also going to go into the roaches and kind of try to play both sides. Now, Cyclone Hellion is actually a bit better against that than old school mech, because, you know, Cyclone's going to attack air units, unlike siege tanks, and they do pretty well versus Mutalisks in low numbers. But what I love from Scarlett, yeah, this is a trademark Scarlett play, though. With her Mutalisks against mech, the Nidus network so that her Mutas can come in, harass, and she builds the worm. And then the Roaches and Lings are going to be looking to attack maybe the 3rd or the 4th base. So Semper, he's got to prepare himself. This game is not going to be easy by any means.
Where are the sensor towers, Nate? I need my sensor towers.
I need my sensor towers too, Roddy.
Well, there comes the first Nidus network. Not sure if the tanks are actually paying attention or not, because we're probably kind of distracted, focused on the Mutas, but the tank is going to siege up, so Semper will be all over this Nidus, and the first one is going to get shot down. I think that's always very nice, right? Because the first one is often the one that hits the hardest. That's when you have the fewest amount of units, as a Zerg or, excuse me, as a Terran or as a Protoss.
And she's going into Swarm Host. I don't know how much she means to commit. She hasn't started a hive yet, so my assumption is that she wants to get, okay, yeah, now she's going to start a few more, get the +2 ranged attack as well. This can get awkward, by the way, losing your barracks floating like this, because you need that A to build factories, but you're trying to like add extra command centers when you're playing mech later on. You're like, oh my god, I can't actually build an orbital, so he will need to replace that if he wants to get more mules later on, but she does not finish it off, so maybe that will not even be a factor. Nidus Worm is going to pop on the south side so that Scarlett can use Swarm Hosts to get into the base of Semper, while the rest of her army attacks the 3rd and 4th. Oh my god, that command center is floating, Roddy. Scarlett might be able to just kill that. Ooh,
well, I mean, Mutas don't have that insane DPS.
I was going to say, if Semper didn't turn it back, then she could also hit it with Corrosive Bile, but I think that, yeah, the Locusts get their first attack wave inside of the main base, and the rest of the army is here on this 3rd. A lot of SCVs going down.
Goodness.
Good Baneling usage by Scarlett. 18 SCVs destroyed by the Banelings.
Felt like the entire army was there of Semper, yet Scarlett is able to find 18 SCVs worth of damage. A couple of Locusts are going to spam into the main base as well. That missile turret should go down. Maybe the sensor tower goes down as well. So we finally had a sensor tower, but it won't live for very long.
Go, little Locust, go!
You guys can do it.
Reach out!
I feel like we should hear a zooming sound. I mean, Scarlett is just kind of all over this place, and even though Semper had a good economy before we end up losing those 18 SCVs, this kind of feels like if you only defend against builds like this, you need to be active on the other side of the map as well. Like, Semper needs to be able to apply some pressure, because you look at Scarlett's her minerals, she's got 3k minerals in the bank, she's maxed out. It kind of feels
Imagine playing with StarCraft with 300 plus ping and just still being able to control everything this well. Make somebody feel almost embarrassed with how rough of a time they're having dealing with this. The next wave of Locusts are going to come in. Of course, this one does drop immediately on the Hellion, so they're not going to be swooping down onto the Siege tanks, but Scarlett's already got her Greater Spire coming in. She has Adrenal Glands, Roach Speed, +2 melee. And I actually really like, because you pointed this out, that she skipped the Carapace upgrades. If you're dealing with Cyclones, right, the lock-on damage isn't affected by armor or attack. So you're not thinking about that too much. Gets a good hit on those mutas, though. Big Daddy Thor getting into this game.
Well, next wave of Locusts enter the main base as well, but it's actually not getting too much done. So let's take a look at this Roach Ravager fight. A lot of Cyclones going down. Like, it feels that Scarlett lost a lot of units there, and she absolutely did. But Semper also lost a lot of units.
Oh,
and Semper doesn't really have the bank. Scarlett does, of course. Now the Locusts are going to go here. I think a lot of SCVs are going to go down as well.
You gotta lift that command center, so it delays the planetary morph.
And at least 4 more SCVs going down. Could have been worse.
Gets a lot of damage in on the Thors too, so that's going to be money that he has to spend repairing his mech units.
I mean, units lost resources tab is actually very funny because it's dead even at this point. It's literally dead even. They lost the exact same amount. But the biggest problem is that Scarlett is very rich. She's on 73 workers. Semper is hovering around 55-ish at this point. And once again, there are just 0 units active on the other side of the map. And mech is good, Nate. I mean, I know you're a big mech boy yourself. Mech is good, but you need to be killing those drones. You need to be active. There needs to be Liberator, whereas Hellion run by, Cyclones being annoying. You can't just sit at home and expect to be fine against, you know, a Swarm Host Nidus player.
This is just a simple case of Scarlett being, I think, too fast. Like, Semper has not been able to react fast enough to catch any of this off guard, to stunt any of the growth of what Sasha's been throwing his way. And she has so much money. You're like, oh my god, yeah. And you just mentioned this, right? The resources lost. Like, oh my god, Scarlett keeps throwing away so many resources. She's got 3,000 minerals and 1,000 gas. She can build whatever she wants. The difference is the resources mined tab that we don't have in this game, but it would tell us a beautiful story if we did, Kevin. And that's that Scarlett has made a lot of moolah in this map. So finally, Semper gets across the map again to kill 2 drones.
The biggest problem here as well is that the entire map is covered in creep, and that's something obviously we are familiar with when it comes to Scarlett games. But that makes it so hard for Semper to get economic damage done, right? Because all of his attacks are basically carrying a red flag and like, hey, here we come! We're coming for the drones. So Scarlett has plenty of time to get ready for that. The Queens are moving forward now as well. Brutes start showing up. And Scarlett has played a pretty damn awesome game. And even though Semper is trying to do whatever he can to hang in there, I don't think there really is a proper answer against his Zerg army.
No, it's really tough. Like, Thors are good, but he doesn't have the number that he needs to actually get through all of these Broodlords. And the tanks are going to start to attack the Thors too. Banelings show up to kill the SCVs that are repairing, and GG is called. Scarlett just slapped him.
Yeah, domination. That was domination from the beginning to the end. The first Hellbat attack looked somewhat promising, especially because Scarlett only had like 5 Banelings. I'm like, oh, this could be dicey. He's like, no, actually, that's perfectly fine. Just enough damage. Overseer shows up. Banshee goes down. Viking took a lot of damage. The Hellbats don't really get anything done. And at that point, it just like swallow up the entire map. Everything is purple. And it really feels that Scarlett is often cruising in these games and just generally having a
so
good
effortless.
Time.
It looked effortless. Like,
no, it really is like, oh, how shall I win this time? It's like, oh, maybe with a couple Nidus networks, and Nidus on the north and Nidus on the south, make a couple Banes, roll forward, let's see what they do.
You know what that game reminded me of, to almost mirror perfectly, was exactly what we saw Cyril do in his group when he played against the Cyclone mech. He had the really good map presence. He had the Ravagers. I don't think he went for the Mutas. Mutas lists have always been more of a Scarlett trademark, so that's her twist on it. She's always been very good with those, also to get the Nidus inside of the main base. But we saw the same thing from Cyril. Very similar play, right? You have Lings that are on the map, a bunch of Ravagers and Banelings to control the center position to keep the Cyclone Hellion from attacking, and then using Nidus Worms non-stop on both the north and the south side to say, hey, yeah, sure, you're going to kill a bunch of worms, but they're not that expensive, and all I need is one good worm to get a wave of locusts onto your tanks, your production, and it's GG, baby.
I mean, you said it at one point, and it's maybe a silly thing that we don't often say when it comes to commentating StarCraft 2, but Scarlett's probably just too fast. There's just too many things happening, and Semper is a really good StarCraft player. You give him time to do what he wants to do, oh, he's going to hurt you real bad. He's going to build up strong armies, he will set up really good drops, he will set up good multi-prong harassments, but if you can't keep up with your opponent, you just never get to that phase. You're only focused on defending, and once you clean one thing up, the next problem occurs, and the next problem occurs. Yep. And at one point, you're defending for 5-6 minutes straight. And that's not because Semper makes that decision or he wants that. It's just that Scarlett is that good that she's all over the place, and that's the only thing you feel like you can do until eventually you wave the white flag and you realize, nope, too much swarm. Can't do it.
Nope. Yeah, Scarlett is so very good at the video game, even playing with all that ping, all that lag. People, I think it's a very esport thing that we all really care about our playing conditions. Yep. Sometimes a little bit more than they matter, because, you know, we know the legends, right? Stefano showing up with like half a mouse and a broken keyboard and winning like a $100,000 tournament. And Scarlett performing extremely well in tournaments when she has to play with large amounts of ping. But that's what makes the champions champions, Kevs. They overcome adversity, and we're seeing the skills already come out.
Like, it'd be dirty, but if I'm Semper, I'm absolutely 3-rexing. Just because, like I said, it has to be really hard to micro your workers if you have like 200 ping.
Yeah.
Because like the early game skirmish is all about like, you know, potential threats, right? Like, my drones are coming, the Marines run away. It's like, just kidding, I'm turning them around. But if you can't actually micro and move your drones in that way, the Marines will have a much easier time in figuring out when they have to run or when they can actually just stand there and shoot at those drones. So it'd be very dirty, but yeah. You know, Nate, I'm not afraid to admit it. I don't know how well you know Warcraft 3, but once upon a time I had a game versus Ted. Ted was arguably the best undead player in the world. But, you know, he had roughly 250, 300 ping. I had 100-something ping to the American server that we played on. I'm like, man, Ted, like, I was not bad at Warcraft, but Ted was literally the best undead in the world. I was like, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to click on his hero for the next 20 minutes. So every time he was inside, I would just speed scroll and only kill his hero. But obviously, because he has very high ping, he has to down portal out very early, so I wouldn't lose a unit. And at one point, I had like level 5 heroes, and he was like 2-1-1. And I got messages from my friends like, that's the dirtiest game I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, hey, you know, you got to do what you got to do, right? And if you think that's the best way to win it, then you go for it.
Yeah, I only have one game of Warcraft experience, because me and in my high school, all my friends, we all played Brood War. I got everybody in on that, and then someone's like, "Yeah, there's Warcraft, play this." And then I didn't really know what I was doing, and then a bunch of trees appeared in my base, and then it said I lost, and I was like, I don't know what happened. So
Warcraft is...
game's very different. That game is very, very, very different.
It's a lot slower, and the battles in general last a lot longer, but it is a beautiful game, and I'm sure that we're all, at least I am very, very excited
I'll
for
give it a fair shot when
you
know, I won't be 14 when I try it for the first time this time.
Be a wise man, don't play Orc.
Don't play. Is Orc what you play?
Yeah.
So it's bad, I guess?
Absolutely.
Some things don't change.
Triggered half the chat right now. No, honestly, I'd recommend Night Elf. I think Night Elf is a fun race.
Well, if I pick Night Elf, then I'm gonna think Night Elf sucks. So I guess I could go the way of go the way of the random.
All right, the Reaper of Semper is going to show up in the natural of Scarlett. So far, nothing dirty is happening in this game. Semper is showing us that he doesn't want to play those games. He doesn't want to rely on those tactics. He's like, nope, I'm just going to play fair and square. And I'm going to do my best to outplay Scarlett in the longer game. I think after the previous game, we know that it's going to be very well.
Oh, tried so hard to get that creep tumor.
That's bad.
It failed in the end.
That's really rough as well, because if you look at Semper's vision at this point, Semper is not going to see anything anymore for quite some time. I mean, he's got this one SCV, but obviously the SCV is going to have to go home.
Yep.
It's so nice to have that Reaper out there. It just gives you a little more safety, a little more comfort, even though it's unlikely that Scarlett is now going to do some crazy all-in because he killed the Reaper. But it's just one of these things that it's not supposed to happen. It did happen, and also makes it a bit harder, right, for the Hellions to be very effective.
Indeed it does, yeah. Well, you touched on this, and we try to make sure to mention this, but the Reaper regenerates health over time, so you kind of want it to lead with the Hellions. Take the first few hits, and then back off and regenerate its HP so that you can have a little bit more sustain. Of course, you can repair Hellions, but then you have to drive them all the way back across the map, and who wants to do that? A couple of Lings are going to come in, get some information, poke an SCV or two.
This all has to do with the fact that the Reaper went down, right? For absolutely nothing. Now, 2 SCVs went down. There's one more SCV that does go down, and I believe that the scouting SCV went down as well.
Yeah, this costs basically nothing for Scarlett to do as well. Like, this really, it's nothing.
And this is bizarre though, right? Because normally if that Reaper doesn't go down, none of this happens. But because the Reaper did go down to that final hit of the Queen, Reaper falls, 4 SCVs fall as well.
And the 1 Marine dying too means this Overlord can just fly around, because Semper, he only built the 1 Marine to push the Overlord away. He's got a Liberator coming out, but you want to send the Liberator straight across the map because you're trying to harass with it, not kill Overlords.
I think this truly shows the power of the Reaper. It's not about what kind of damage the Reaper can get done, but it's about the damage that it can prevent at home. Right?
Yep.
And it's just the map presence, it forces the Lynx to stay at home. It's funny how a little investment early on, such a tiny unit as the Reaper that we often think of as useless past to a certain point in the game, actually has, you know, so much value early on.
And now Scarlett gets the ultimate scout. She knows that it's not mech this game. She gets the Hellion. Every little bit of damage here is really nice. Of course, the wind has been taken out of the sails for any type of aggression that Semper would want to do. Like, you're not going to run by 3 Hellions and get anything, especially since he doesn't really want to repair them either, because he doesn't really want to have the Hellions anymore. The Liberator will siege and get...
What? Come on.
Nothing.
That should have been at least 1 drone. I don't understand how that happens.
Looks like the Liberator siege animation takes longer than 300 milliseconds, Kevin.
Double Evo on the way for Scarlett. The Baneling has just finished up as well. Semper indeed, like you said, playing bio this game, so I'm curious to see how that plays out. See if Semper can get himself in some good positions. We obviously know this.
It's so good to know that, though. It's so good to know that your opponent's going bio, because you get to say, like, okay, well, I don't have to do the Swarm Host memes. I don't have to do this. Just get upgrades, build lots of Lings, lots of Banelings, and that's, I mean, that's a also very Scarlett thing to do, and get her Spire up.
Look at the Spy positioning, by the way. It's right in the natural Scarlett. I think it's kind of funny. I wonder, like, where should I build my Spires? Like,
you expect the Terran to scan the main, right? And since there's not a lot of Hellions, you don't really think that he'll just suicide them in, because he shouldn't expect to get anything. I kind of like it. I like it a lot.
It's very important to take down these rocks. It's something we went over a couple of times yesterday. There's a lot of bio pushes with tanks where Terran players want to get the high ground here. They want to start getting a little siege up and then ideally do like a pre-split and then hopefully force out a fight with a couple of Sim Marines in the front, and then the Banelings roll in, but the tanks are already in a good and safe position. But Scarlett is obviously aware of this. We've been playing on Thunderbird for a couple of weeks now, so it is important that she takes care of these rocks, but she's got some time.
Overseer's just going to fly by, make sure nothing weird's happening, and she sees exactly what she should expect. There's still barracks, still building Marines. There's forces are here with a tank, and that does give her an indication that since medevacs are here with the Marines, that there's not a big drop on the way to her base either. Of course, she has creep spread and she has Overlord spread out, so she would see it anyway. In fact, this Overlord will see the 2 medevacs moving out of her, moving out of his base. And 1-1 is almost done, so Scarlett will not be behind in the upgrade department. And
excuse me, Nathan Fabricant.
Yes?
You noticed that scan? What did that scan reveal, Nate?
What did it reveal, Rotterdam?
Everything. The lair, the Spire.
He saw the lair earlier.
You said you loved that Spire positioning because it wasn't going to get scanned, Nathan.
What can I say? It's NA. If it made sense, it wouldn't make sense. You know what I mean?
There are 14 Banelings on the way for Scarlett. That's
the Mutas, by the way, they got both medevacs on the bottom.
No.
Or the Liberator, excuse me. Thought there was a medevacs flying over there.
I was about to say, no. The Marines are active in the middle of the map, pushing back the creep a little bit. Curious to see if Semper wants to make some sort of a 1-1 push, because his upgrades are about to finish up. But we often see Terran players kind of just sitting at home a little bit longer and moving out when like their 2-2 upgrades are halfway done. If I look at his army right now of Semper, I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm really feeling a move out, but he's going to try, Nate.
Yeah, and it's going to be difficult. I mean, we know that Scarlett is very good, so trying to make these attacks work is never going to be easy, but you talked about the rocks. They have been removed from the field of play. The armory is a little bit late too, Roddy, so the 2-2 upgrades for Sasha are going to come in a little bit earlier than for Semper.
The Baneling count is so high, by the way. I feel like there's almost a Baneling for every single Marine at this point, at least in this push, because there aren't that many Marines. Semper is probably going to have to disengage. You could, of course, pick up these tanks, and that's exactly what Semper does. Well done. Forced out a lot of extra Banelings, but when we say forcing out Banelings, does that really still apply when Scarlett is at 81 workers?
No.
No, most likely not, because these Banes we're going to make regardless, right? This doesn't hurt her economy anymore.
There's no scenario where you make Banelings versus bio and you're like, oh my god, why did I build Banelings?
It's like, oh no, I really overreacted to that push. What am I going to do with all these Banelings, Nate?
I do not think that trying to attack off creep is going to work, but Scarlett maybe looking to try and pull the army away and do a huge like backstab type play with the Mutalisk attacking the third.
I want Scarlett to send 2 drones to the north side of the map and mine out those minerals, Nate. Why haven't we seen this yet?
It would be a good play.
Yeah, you can just roll banelings. I mean, there is a sensor tower, but still, you can take it out with your mutas.
But still.
But still.
Hive is coming in. 40 more Zerglings being added to this, by the way. Good lord, that's a lot of lings. We're going to go over the 130 mark.
How much larva does Scarlett have at the moment?
6 now. Okay.
Okay.
She's been using it all.
I mean, with the Widow Mines on the way, I do kind of like that from Semper, right? Drilling Claw, such a good upgrade against Ling, Bane, Muta. There's always hope. I mean, with a couple of
This is a good call, yeah.
Yep. With a couple of fantastic Widow Mines, there's absolutely some hope. Right now, it looks a bit dire. Once again, Semper's vision is just not there. Oh, Scarlett not paying attention. A couple of the Mutas did go down there.
That's where that delay can also hurt a lot, too.
Yep.
Trying to pull back, need to be very careful. Scarlett's getting Burrow, so y'all know what that means.
Habitation station memes?
The one game that people talk about for a Zerg comeback. I never got a reply to my WCS call out the other day, too.
Yeah, you ask about things. I actually, what was the question again? I was watching the broadcast.
What was the best? Just give me your suggestion for the best. These Marines are destroying this mineral line, by the way. Give me your suggestion for the best comeback a Zerg player has made other than Scarlett versus Bomber.
Sero versus Raynor.
Oh my god, that was disgusting. Who's playing with delay? Those Banelings just killed so many Marines.
What about my game?
Cyril versus Raynor?
Yeah, Montreal. How's that not a sick comeback?
It was a really good game. Do you call it a comeback when Cyril's involved? That's fair.
Oh, come on. He was so dead. Yes. If that's not a comeback, I don't know what is.
Do you call pulling an ice spear out and hitting a dragon with
done,
it a comeback?
Burrow is done, guys. So let's keep a close eye on these Banelings.
Yes, the oh my god. She's gonna 46 more Banelings. What the heck is happening?
There are a lot of Widow Mines here. Obviously, you want to be careful as well with your Semper. You don't want these Widow Mines to fire at your own Marines, but so far that's going all right.
It's so nice that she doesn't have the detection over here, but she's just manually detonating the Banelings on the mines that she can see the origin target from. So, using that to help clean this up. Careful, though!
Oh,
ooh, big shot.
That's why we like the Widow Mines. That is a very big shot, and there is more where that came from. I kind of like how this is suddenly going for Semper. Scarlett is getting Broodlords, but hey, Semper finally catching some momentum. A couple of good hits there. Tanks are getting close, and now, of course, once the Broods finish up, Nate.
Yeah, the Broodlings are going to force those Widow Mines to detonate on Semper's army, which is a part of the trickiness of dealing with this.
Scarlett became so good in her transitions as well. There were some days in the past where, you know, sometimes you'd be stuck at 5k, and then just a little too simple.
Oh.
Banelings coming in from multiple angles. The Widow Mines are getting a couple of good connections, but there are simply too many Banes. The Marines are splitting up green or on creep, and we all know how that ends. It doesn't really matter how good the splits are. Those Banes will find the connections.
This is just disgusting. GG. Scarlett dominating as usual to start off WCS America Group D in a 2-0 victory over Semper.
I mean, I like the mines in the end. A couple of explosive hits. Looked good. But, I mean, like I kind of tried to say right before that fight started, it's always annoying. There's like, oh, let's talk about it. It's like, oh my god, there's a fight going on. But I think Scarlett got incredibly good and smooth with her transitions. It's just like, it really feels effortless how she gets Broodlords out. Like, there's a lot of TvZs where we're like, can the Broods finish up in time? And now you look at it and they're like, just morphing in the back. And, you know, this Terran army is standing on creep, surrounded by creep. I mean, Scarlett just in complete control in both games.
I really liked it too, because she recognized that the Mutalisks were no longer the important part of the army composition, so she leads with those into the Thor, takes the first hit, but has also just a bunch of Zerglings there. Not too many of her Banelings, she kept them on the creep, but the Lings came just to make it so that the Broodlords, as they started that engagement, like you couldn't just run underneath them, because it wasn't like the Broodlords were going to flank on their own. So Scarlett did a really good job of spreading out her army, getting that surround, and well, we just got to see Scarlett be Scarlett, which is very good at the video game, ladies and gentlemen. So that does conclude our first series for Group D for WCS America Challenger, and Well done. Well done. Scarlett goes up to the winner's match, where she will face the winner of our next best of 3, which will be a Terran versus Protoss.
And that's what I'm very excited about. I think Puck against Future really has the potential to be in a pretty epic match. I think these guys are pretty evenly matched at the moment. I think a lot of fans of Puck might say, like, oh, Puck's the favorite here. But then I think there's quite some diehard StarCraft fans who will be like, no, Future is the favorite here. I mean, Future actually won a LAN event as well in North America. I'd say Puck is the bigger name, but Future definitely the more promising player at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a very fun series, Nate.
Yeah, really excited to check this one out. So that's what we're going to be going to next, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up next in WCS Americas, Puck versus Future. We'll see you on the other side.